Good morning, class 9 students. I welcome you all on this virtual digital learning platform provided by Jagrati Classes. Today what we are going to start is our new chapter, that is chapter number 4, Structure of the Atom. So we are doing class 9th chapter 4. Wait a second. We are doing class 9 chapter 4, that is structure of atom. So what do you actually mean by atom? We have already discussed in our previous video lectures. Okay, what do you mean by the term atoms? What do you mean? What is an atom? So here basically we'll do its structure. What is atom comprises of? So in the previous video we have studied that. We have actually studied a theory. That was what? Dalton's atomic theory. Do you remember that theory? We have studied Dalton's atomic theory. And this theory was the basis of principles of atoms. In Dalton's atomic theory, we studied various postulates that atoms, all the matter is made up of atoms. These atoms are the smallest particles. And one more postulate which we studied is that atoms are indivisible. All the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory is correct. Only one postulate, that is, atoms are indivisible particles. Atoms are indivisible particles. These postulates possess some limitations, okay? We'll study what are the limitations of this postulate that atoms are indivisible. In this chapter, we say this postulate stands incorrect. That is, atoms are not indivisible. So, it means the correct form of this postulate would be atoms are not indivisible. And if atoms are not indivisible, I can write this term in another way. That means atoms are divisible. These are divisible particles. So now, what do you have to write if the question arises in your exams? So if the question occurs from the previous unit, that is chapter 3, you have to write that atoms are indivisible particles. Indivisible means an atom cannot be broken down into several smaller particles. But if the question comes from the structure of atom and if it is asked give the limitations of Dalton's atomic theory, then you may write that atoms are indivisible. This postulate given by Dalton was wrong, and it was proved wrong after much experimentation, after much research. And what did we get? That atoms are not indivisible. Remember the word not here, okay? So atoms are not indivisible. And in simple terms, we can write that atoms are divisible, and this means that atoms can be divided. Atoms can be divided further into smaller particles. So अभी तक जो भी हम पढ़ रहे थे कि सबसे छोटा पार्टिकल इज कॉल्ड द एटम. ऑल द मैटर अराउंड अस इज मेड अप ऑफ एटम्स. बट दिस after much experimentation and research was proved wrong. Atoms are not indivisible. Atoms itself is consist of many smaller particles, okay? So we say that now the atom is not the smallest particle. Atom is made up of, atom itself comprises of smaller particles, and these smaller particles are therefore called subatomic particles. These are called as subatomic particles. The particles of atom, the particles which are present inside the atom, and these are but obvious smaller than atom. Atom से छोटे नहीं होंगे तो they would not fit inside the atom. So subatomic particles are those particles which are present inside the atom, and these particles are smaller than the atom. So this is what we are going to study. We are going to introduce our chapter with the term subatomic particles. And 1/3 of the chapter is about these subatomic particles. For a brief idea, I'll share with you, these subatomic particles are of 3 kinds. Okay, the subatomic particles are protons, then comes neutron, and then comes the electron. So we have 3 subatomic particles present inside the atoms, and these 3 subatomic particles are referred as protons, neutrons and electrons. We'll see their properties in detail in the next section. So let's start the properties of subatomic particles, and then we'll in turn see how these subatomic particles were discovered. So now the topic of our discussion is subatomic particles. These subatomic particles are of 3 kinds. The first one is proton, then the second we have is neutron, okay, and the third one is called electron. The first thing which we have to study, the first property of discussion would be their symbol. The symbol of these subatomic particles. So these subatomic particles are denoted by various symbols. The first symbol for proton comes P and a superscript of positive charge, because protons are positively charged particles, so they are denoted by P plus. Neutrons are denoted by the symbol small n, and because they do not carry any kind of charge, you may write n0 or n0, because the neutrons have a net charge equal to 0. Then you have electrons. The charge on electron or the symbol is E, and a superscript of minus is placed above the charge E. So this means electrons are negatively charged. Next what we have is, after the symbol you can calculate the charge. So the charge present on proton, you can simply write the charge on proton is +1, and the exact value of charge is 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Here this C represents, okay, I'll not write it in the table. The C present here, this represents the unit coulomb. You will study in your higher classes that in class 10th, coulomb is the unit to measure the charge. Then the charge present on neutron, I already told you that neutron has a net 0 charge on it. So charge on neutron is 0. Then is the charge on electron. The charge on electron you can simply describe as -1. The charge carried by one electron is equal to -1. And for the exact value, you don't have to remember it, and if you remember, it's the best way. So the charge is minus 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. This is the charge, exact value of charge present on one electron, one single electron, and you can remember the charge on one electron is -1. Okay, there is no issue in that. After the symbol, after the charge, you can calculate the mass. The mass of our first subatomic particle, proton. The mass of proton is, it is very high, okay? So the mass of proton 1.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 27 kg. This is the value for the mass of proton, or in your books it has given that the mass of proton is high as compared to the other subatomic particles. The mass of neutron is similar to the mass of proton, that is 1.67 into 10 raised to the power 27 kg. So we have the same mass of proton and neutron. But now talking about the electron, the mass of one electron as written in the books is very negligible. Negligible means equal to 0. Okay, electrons does not provide any effect on the mass of the atom. The complete mass of the atom, which we learned to calculate in your earlier lectures, was what? The mass of atoms. The mass of atoms would be the mass of proton and neutron. In the mass factor, we do not involve electron, because this electron has a negligible mass, and this negligible mass can be ignored while calculating the mass of the atom. And for a value, I'll give you a value. It is 9.1 into 10 raised to the power minus 37 kg. Okay, so this is very small. Do not look at the number 9.1, that 9.1 is greater than 1.6. No, look at the powers. Okay, and it is minus 30 kg, not 37, it is minus 30 kg. So this is the subatomic particles and their various characteristics. Now, you can also include a column about the discovery of subatomic particles. About the discovery, as you all know, protons were discovered by a scientist named Goldstein. They were discovered by Goldstein. Okay, then coming to the neutrons, neutrons were discovered by Chadwick. You can say James Chadwick discovered neutrons. This is also mentioned in your NCERT books, but the further experiment of determination or discovery of protons and discovery of electrons will not be dealt in this class. Okay, it is in next higher classes. You'll study this experiments in detail in classes 11th and 12th. So we are only looking at the names of the scientists who discovered the following particles. You can go through the slide, and if you have any kind of difficulty, you can ask me. We have written the symbol of the subatomic particles. Firstly, we have three kinds of subatomic particles, that is proton, neutron and electron. Then the symbols will be P plus, N naught and E negative. Then you have the charge. The charge on proton is +1, and the exact value of charge I have mentioned in the brackets. Charge, always put units, okay, wherever you find any physical quantity. So the unit for measuring the charge is coulomb. And this coulomb you will study in higher classes, and remember this, that the unit of measuring charge is coulomb. The charge on neutron is 0 and the charge on electron is -1, and the exact value is similar to the charge of protons, but it contains a negative sign. Then you have the masses of proton, electron and neutron, and I already told you, sometimes a question comes in exams, why mass of atom is equal only to the sum of masses of proton and neutron. Or it can be asked that why electrons do not have any effect on the mass of the atom. So the reason is quite clear, because the mass of electron is itself negligible, so it does not affect the total mass of the atom. So this is a simple and brief description of the subatomic particles which are given. Okay? Oh yes, I have not written the discovery of electron. The discovery of electron was given by J.J. Thomson. And there is an experiment also, a model also of the J.J. Thomson model that describes the structure of atom. So you can study this. Then next we'll start, I'll give you a brief idea about discovery of protons and discovery of electrons, only a brief idea. And then we'll start the Thomson model of an atom, that is the structure of atom. So, how we came to know that atom is not the smallest particle. Atom is further made up of more smaller particles which are called subatomic particles. So, the first indications that atom has many subatomic particles, that is, atoms is not the smallest particle of matter. The first indication about this idea, the first indications about this postulate was felt when the electrical conductivity was studied. When we studied about the electrical conductivity, then we came to know that atoms, during electrical conductivity, what happens? If you take a beaker and you take an atom A, Okay, this atom in solid state will not undergo any conduction. It will not help in conduction or transport of electricity. But when you dissolve this solid, when you melt this solid in the molten form, or you take this solid in a dissolved form, this component breaks down into some kind of lower subatomic particles, and these subatomic particles are responsible for the transfer of electricity. So this is a simple concept that atoms are the subatomic particles. The first indication was thought after much research on the conductivity topic, and after this it was discovered that atoms are made up of certain subatomic particles, and these subatomic particles are of three kinds: protons, neutrons and electrons, which we just discussed in our previous slide. Now moving on to the next topic. After the subatomic particles were discovered, let us see a brief idea about the discovery of the first subatomic particles, that is discovery of protons. Let us see what experiments were carried out that these protons got discovered. So the discovery of protons was done by Goldstein, and Goldstein is the name of scientist. Okay, Goldstein discovered the protons. Goldstein discovered protons. I am writing the symbol P plus, and P plus stands for protons. So Goldstein discovered protons. The next point would be the experiment by which Goldstein discovered the protons is called gas discharge experiment. Okay, this was the name given to the experiment through which Goldstein discovered protons, not atoms, protons. In this experiment, what he did is, he took a gas discharge tube, or he took a normal tube and filled it with certain type of gases. Remember, I am giving only a brief idea. I am not explaining complete experiment and the logics and concepts behind every apparatus. He just took a tube and filled it with certain amount of gases. Then he took a cathode. Here a cathode is a type of electrode. Okay. So he took a cathode. Cathode is negatively charged. He took a electrode, a negatively charged electrode. That is, he connected this electrode to the negative terminal of the battery, and there the further circuit occurs. So what he observed, that on carrying the experiment, all what he did, he observed that certain rays emerged from this cathode. This is a negatively charged terminal, and he observed certain rays which came out from the cathode and it moves toward the anode. So these rays, when these rays were researched upon or looked upon, these were positively charged rays. These were positively charged rays. So these rays were called anode rays because they move towards anode, and these are also known as canal rays. Okay, and these actually are the protons, the motion of protons along a straight rectilinear line, and these were, because they were originated from cathode and they moved towards anode, so the direction of motion is considered. So because they moved towards the anode or the positive terminal, they were called anode rays or canal rays. So this was the experiment for the discovery of protons. It was discovered by Goldstein, and the experiment is called gas discharge or gas tube discharge experiments. And these protons, you just remember, no need to remember this experiment, you just remember that these protons are referred as canal rays, or they are also known as anode rays. Then there are certain characteristics that these rays are positively charged, and because they were positively charged, they were considered to be made up of protons. So these rays are nothing, these are a cluster or a group of protons which emerge from the cathode and move towards anode, and in turn they are known as anode rays or canal rays. So this was all about the discovery of the first subatomic particle by Goldstein in his gas discharge experiment. The next we can study the discovery of electron. Now discovery of electron, it was given by J.J. Thomson. Okay, the experiment was much similar as carried out by Goldstein, and these electrons, they also moved in a form of rays, but these electrons are called cathode rays. I am now not describing the experiment because it is of no use for you, just you have an idea that how the experiment was conducted. It was much similar what we discussed in the last slide. I am only saying the discovery of electron, the characteristics of these electrons which were discovered. These electrons are called cathode rays. These rays are negatively charged rays. Then these move towards the cathode. They move towards cathode. Okay, there is an error in the last slide that cathode is your positive terminal and anode is your negative terminal. Because these rays are made up of protons and protons are positively charged. So the positively charged rays will be attracted towards the negative terminal. So anode is the negative terminal, but these rays are the positively charged in nature. And coming to the electrons or coming to the cathode rays, these cathode rays are itself negatively charged, but they move towards cathode because cathode is positively charged electrode. Cathode is your positively charged electrode, and these rays move towards the cathode, and so they are referred as cathode rays. Now I think this topic is clear. Now we will move on to our next topic. Now we have discussed till now that atom is not the smallest particle or atom is not indivisible. It is divisible. We can divide the atom into many smaller pieces, and these pieces or the smaller particles are called subatomic particles, and we have three subatomic particles, that is protons, neutrons and electrons, and you all know and you all have the complete idea what these particles are. Then we have discussed that how protons and electrons were discovered. Now we know that atom is made up of subatomic particles. After the discovery of subatomic particles, the work or the process of research didn't complete, it didn't terminate. Now the new topic of research was made that how these subatomic particles are arranged inside an atom, and for this many scientists provided or proposed many kinds of different models or theories. So in your books some models are given, that is 3 model. We have to study the basic simple model, that is J.J. Thomson model of an atom. He told that all the positive charge is in the kind of a sphere and the electrons are present scattered in it. Then you will study a more better fitted model, that is Rutherford model of an atom, and the next would be some modification, that is Bohr's model of atom. So now we are studying that atoms are made up of subatomic particles, but how these subatomic particles are arranged. Now we want to study the arrangement of protons, neutrons and electrons inside the atom. Okay? So for studying the arrangement of protons, neutrons and electrons inside the atom, certain models were proposed to explain their structure. So the first model was called Thomson model of the atom. Then the next one was Rutherford's model. This Rutherford model is very important. Mark it with the stars. It is very important. Many questions come from this model. It is lengthy but it is interesting, and when we will study this, I hope it would be completely clear. Then the next is a certain modification of Rutherford, that is Bohr's model of atom. So to study the arrangement of proton, neutron and electron inside an atom, we have 3 models, and one by one we will discuss all these models. So let's start the Thomson model of an atom. The first one to be discussed is Thomson's model of atom. this Thomson's model of atom, it was given by J.J. Thomson. Remember, J.J. Thomson did two works in this chapter. J.J. Thomson discovered a subatomic particle which was called electron, and J.J. Thomson also provided a model to explain the structure of atom, and this model is called Thomson's model of atom. So it is given by J.J. Thomson. The next is what? This model is also known as watermelon model. Yes, it is called a watermelon model, or it has various names like the Christmas pudding model, or it is also referred as the plum pudding model. So these are the various names by which you can be asked any question. So you have to remember these names, that the Thomson's model of an atom is known as watermelon or plum pudding model. And this was the first basics of providing structure. Thomson firstly or initially provided the structure of atom as per his model. He was the first to provide a structure for the arrangement of protons, neutrons and electrons. So this was the first model, and this was a quite simple model. It was based on the simplest theory of arrangement. It is simple model in terms that it was the first basic model, and it is quite simple in studying also. So let's see in detail what did Thomson told about the arrangement of subatomic particles. So what Thomson told, that the first postulate was atom is spherical in shape. Atom is spherical in shape. Then the next one is in this spherical shape, he compared atom with the watermelon. He compared the structure of atom to be similar to the watermelon or the pudding. To watermelon, or you can say to the plum pudding. What Thomson told was that atom is spherical in shape. Okay, we draw a sphere here. This is a sphere. Then he said that atom is similar to a watermelon or plum pudding. Let's consider a watermelon here, and let's consider this is a plum pudding. So I am explaining, taking reference of both, that is watermelon and plum pudding model. He told that all the red fleshy part present in the watermelon is that is this red fleshy part. I hope you all are aware with the watermelon, okay? The red fleshy part of watermelon is nothing but this constitutes the positively charged sphere. This is a positive sphere. And in this red fleshy part, electrons are embedded like the seeds of watermelon. So in the watermelon, what you have as seeds, these were compared to the presence of electrons. So we can say that atom is a spherical particle. Inside the atom, the red fleshy part of the watermelon is compared to the positively charged sphere, that is the positive charge is uniformly dispersed in this complete sphere, and the seeds of the watermelon behave as the electrons, that is electrons are embedded in the positively charged sphere. So this was what Thomson's model when we compare it to a watermelon, and on comparing to the plum pudding, it is quite similar. The pudding part of the model or the pudding part of the plum pudding is compared to the positive sphere. It is believed to be the positive sphere that is made up of protons. So whole of it is made up of protons, and inside the pudding we do not have seeds. as in the case of watermelon. Inside the pudding we have much dry fruits and cherries. So these dry fruits are compared to the electrons, that is these dry fruits which are embedded in the plum pudding are electrons, and the positive charge or the pudding part is your protons, positive sphere protons. So this is all about the Thomson's model. That is, Thomson told the red fleshy part, I am only writing in reference now to watermelon. Okay, I am not writing again the whole same thing. I hope you can easily write about the plum pudding. So the red fleshy part comprises of the positive sphere, that is, it is made up of protons, and electrons are embedded in the positive sphere. Electrons are embedded in the positive sphere just like the seeds. So this was all about Thomson's model of an atom, and if you want to write the same in reference to plum pudding, you will write the in place of this red fleshy part, you will write what? The pudding part or the cake part is the positive sphere, that is protons, and electrons are embedded in this pudding part, not just like the seeds, just like the dry fruits. So you have to only change certain words and this would be your description of Thomson's model. Is it simple? Yes, great. It was the simplest model, but this simplest model has some drawbacks. This arrangement of atom or the structure of atom is not completely accepted because it contains some drawbacks, or you can say it has some limitations, and these are always asked in exam, that why Thomson's model is not accepted as the structure of atom. The first drawback, that is these positive and negative charge, or you may write that the positive sphere of protons is made of many protons. Okay, these protons make a sphere, that means many number of protons are present in whole of the positive part, and this positive sphere which is made up of many protons, these protons will show repulsion with each other. These protons show repulsion with each other. You know that similar charges or like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. You may have heard this in your junior classes or while you were discussing about the topics for magnets. So we know that the positive sphere is made up of many protons, so these protons should repel with each other, and in turn, therefore, the structure of atom would be unstable. So this is the first drawback, that Thomson model could not explain the stability of atom. You can give this a heading, that is Thomson's model could not explain the stability of the atom, and the reason behind this is that the positive sphere is made up of many protons, and as we know, all the protons carry positive charge on them. So the similar positive charges, according to the basic science rule, should repel each other, and if these charges will repel each other, they will move away from each other, then the atom would be unstable and it would not occur in its configuration, or it cannot exist independently. And we know that atoms are very stable. They are not indivisible, but they are very stable. So this was the drawback or limitation of the Thomson's model of atom, that it didn't explain about the repulsion among the protons. Then the next drawback is he didn't give, the second drawback is he gave a random arrangement. He proposed a random arrangement for protons and electrons. Okay, That is, he didn't give any definite positions where the protons and electrons are present. He only gave a random arrangement about the electrons and protons. And then the last drawback, which is even mentioned in your NCERT textbook, is that the other scientists who carried out many research and experiments cannot be explained by this Thomson's model. So, the Thomson's model was unable to explain the other experiments performed by various scientists. So, he could not give or explain or verify the experiments performed by various scientists. So, this was the last and final drawback of Thomson. Because of so many drawbacks and limitations, the new model was proposed, that was the Rutherford's model of atom. So, talking about the Rutherford's model, this we will do in our next class, okay, and we will complete the whole of the model in a single class. So, do not miss that class, it would be very important. So today what we studied was about, we actually started the chapter knowing that what do you mean by atoms. Atoms you have already learnt in your earlier chapters. Then we studied that the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory that atoms are indivisible, it is not correct. Okay, then we studied the arrangement of then we studied the subatomic particles which are present in atoms, that is protons, neutrons and electrons. We studied the different properties of the particles, their symbols, mass, charge and their discovery. Then I told you a brief idea about the experiments, that how protons and electrons were discovered. Then we studied the first model to propose the structure, that is Thomson's model of atom. And this Thomson's model of atom is also known as watermelon or plum pudding model. In the next class, we will study the Rutherford model and I will try to complete the Bohr model also. So, okay, thank you for joining. If you have any doubts regarding this topic, you may ask anytime. Thank you.